Welcome everyone. It's Safrina from Feng Shui and Prosper. And if I am new to you, if you're catching this video and you've never seen me before, I am a classically trained Feng Shui consultant, and I help my residential, commercial, and retail clients activate the most abundant energy as possible in their space. And today I want to talk about Feng Shui, but more on what I call inner Feng Shui and how it relates to relationships. We will be covering on the 7 blocks that you could be repelling relationships from coming into your life. And these 7 blocks are, again, we're dealing with the internal energy here, which is really important because I know a lot of you want to talk about doing Feng Shui placements for relationships. And we've definitely talked a lot about that, especially you guys who've either done private consultations with me, or you're in the annual webinar with me, or you're in the Manifesting Code, which is my monthly program. We've definitely touched on those Feng Shui related placements for relationships quite often. But my platform, my perspective is whatever area in your life that you want to shift, you cannot just rely on Feng Shui to do that. Okay? Don't let bad Feng Shui be your crutch. There's also the internal energy that we need to talk about, that we need to address. Because you know what? Even if your Feng Shui is maximized at home for relationship, or for money, or for health, or whatever it is, but if there's still internal junk, you are still blocking yourself from fully magnetizing it in the way that you want it to. Okay, in a way that is the highest and best for you. And so I'm going to go through the 7 steps. And if you didn't hear my preamble earlier on, if you have a pen and paper, please get that ready just so that you can jot down the 7 steps. If you don't have it ready, maybe you're watching me while you're on the go, whatever, come back and rewatch this video and write down the 7 steps and see if you have any of these blockages. And I'm going to say this once, and I'll repeat that again at the end, is with this homework, okay, what do? First is to acknowledge that you have these blockages, and second is to heal them. Now, if you're very self-aware, you'll probably won't have too much of an issue in terms of figuring out which of the 7 blockages you have. However, after you've kind of looked at the 7 blockages for yourself, I highly recommend that you take these 7 bullets, okay, and bring it to a trusted friend or family member and ask them if they see you having these blockages, and maybe they also see that you have more than what you thought you did, okay? This exercise is not to bring you down, but it's more to shine a light on what needs to be healed. Because if you don't acknowledge where the problem lies, you can't heal it. Okay? Capiche? Pen and paper or not, or you come back and rewatch it, work with it, especially if relationships is something that you've had a struggle with. And another thing, I know this video talks about relationship, but you can easily transfer it to any other area in your life. It can be your career, it can be your finances. And when we talk about relationships, it's not just romantic relationships as well. It's also non-romantic relationships. All right, you guys ready? Oh, and by the way, if you know of anyone, friends or family on Facebook who, or even on YouTube, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, feel free to share it with them, okay? People who you think might resonate or might find this video useful. All right, number 1, not valuing yourself. And this I see over and over again. Now, I do get a lot of clients that come to me in terms of wanting to activate more relationship-like in their lives. And the ones who did full consultations with me, I take a look at their Chinese astrology as well. Now, with Chinese astrology, or with any astrology, I'm sure, it's not uncommon for me to see people who have an issue valuing themselves. And in turn, it is then also hard for them to attract a relationship or attract a partner that is also valuing them. Okay? Like attracts like in terms of law of attraction. And mind you, all the 7 blockages that I talk about in this video, it affects the energy that you emanate out into the world. It affects your light, so to speak. So even if you're not verbally saying it out loud, people can pick up your energy and they can sense it. So if they can sense that you're not valuing yourself, that you're constantly putting yourself down, especially for us women, we look at ourselves in the mirror and we put ourselves down, then people are going to pick up on that. Okay? Especially if you're on the extreme end of this. Oh, I'm such a loser. I always pick the wrong guy. Or what is wrong with me that, I'm so stupid. Like things like that. Okay? So that kind of vibration is very low. And if you find yourself doing this, not valuing yourself, then this is definitely, I would say this is, of all the 7 that I'm going to go through today, this is the one that I see over and over again astrologically. Okay? Which is why it's number 1. And number 2, always going for the worst case scenario. So this is where you are stuck in the future, but not in a way where you're focusing in the future in a supportive way. You're focusing in the future in a way where it's ridden with fear, ridden with guilt, also ridden with, tainted with your lack of self-worth, lack of self-confidence as well. Okay. So it would be, and I see this over and over again as well, especially astrologically, there are patterns where people say they want to be in a relationship, but there is a part of them that are scared of that commitment. I've had clients who say, I want to be in a relationship. Heck, I even want to get married. But I see a lot of my married friends who are miserable. What if I'm going to be just as miserable as them, if not even more miserable? And I'm thinking, and I told the client, I said, why are you putting yourself in that position now? You're future projecting worst case scenario. And again, that is not just something that is set just off the cuff. That is something that is a real fear in some people. And again, that affects the energy that you put out in the world. And what are you telling the universe if you say you want a relationship, but you're scared of a relationship? You want a commitment, but you don't want the commitment to take away your freedom. You want to be married, but you've seen people who struggle with their in-laws and all those things. If you are stuck worrying about the future, the worst case future that has not yet even started to go that way, then you need to pull on the brakes and you need to stop. It's not working for you. Okay? So that is step number 2. I'm going to go through this a little bit faster, but I'll come back to this and we'll recap. Okay? And the third one is, I couldn't figure out. The third one, I tried to make this worded as positive as possible, but sometimes you have to, if it's a duck, you have to call it a duck, right? Whatever that term is desperately, that feeling of desperate urgency and that feeling of constantly scrutinizing, constantly putting everything under a microscope, constantly over-analyzing. Again, that takes you up from the present. Either you're over-analyzing the past or you're over-analyzing the future. And the energy of being desperate is very, very off-putting. Okay? And it's hard not to feel desperate when you are desperate. you know, believe me, I was desperate before, either in terms of relationship, and I've been desperate financially as well. It's easy to say, don't feel desperate. When you are, you simply are. What do you do when you feel desperate? We're going to talk about that. If you stick with me towards the end, we're going to go through a couple of things that you can look into, a few resources that you can look into to help with that, okay? So I'm not here to put anyone down. I'm not just going to say, snap out of your desperation and your Prince Charming or your princess, whatever, is going to come into your life. You have to heal from within first. Because that, in turn, will heal the energy that you're putting out. That, in turn, will brighten up your light. Okay? So that is number 3. If you find yourself, people can do this third one, either in a relationship or not in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship, you're desperate to find your person. If you're currently in a relationship, but let's say he's not ready to commit, and you're putting too much urgency into it, I'm not saying that you shouldn't give hints, that you shouldn't have an agreement that this is where both of you want to go. However, it's the energy that goes into it. The energy of knowing what you want to do versus the energy of desperation is, for me anyway, is totally different energetically. It feels very different. One is very yucky. The other one is just simply, in terms of just planning, for the lack of a better word to call it. Okay, so that's point number 3. Oops. Point number 4 is comparisonitis. And I see this astrologically as well, over and over again, in that you have a long list of your Mr. Right or your Miss Right, and not being totally flexible around it. Now, this is the thing. Some people say, oh, in law of attraction, they say I need to be very clear in terms of what I want, so that I can attract the very person in the exact same package. Yes and no. I've done this exercise with some of my clients before, where I say, okay, what are the top 10 qualities that your perfect mate needs to have? And some of these qualities, to be honest with you, are very limiting in terms of like physical features and things like that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't want someone who is good looking, but really, or maybe that's just how my mom taught me, right? My mom actually said, don't go for looks, go for the internal stuff, because looks will fade. So maybe it's just me. When I see some of the top 10 lists, and I'm like, you want someone who has a great head of hair? Great. What if that starts going in 15 years? Are you still going to love him? Like, really, right? For me, your top 10 qualities, it can be, or non-qualities even, right? You have a list for the qualities that are really important to you. And this is something that I forgot to share in my last video, is that I did if you guys forgot or haven't watched the last video, check out either on my YouTube channel or my Facebook page about Feng Shui and relationships. It's about how I magnetized my husband. I talked about the Feng Shui, but I forgot to mention I did do the top 10 qualities in my mate. And I don't remember that specifically, but what happened was I was at the low point in my dating life. This was part of my urgency, actually, in number 3. I was feeling desperate at that point. So in a flash of inspiration, or whatever you call it, I wrote down a list of 10 qualities that I was seeking, and I was so frustrated and so desperate, I had tears falling onto the sheet of paper. I remember my tears just splattering on the paper, and the ink just kind of dispersed. So it was definitely a moment in my life where I was heartbroken, I was frustrated and desperate and hopeless. Okay? But that list got me clear, and the list was like, I want a man who who is not afraid of commitment. I want a man who wants children because I want children. I want a man who is smart, who is ambitious. And I made the mistake. So this is comparisonitis now. When my husband and I started moving in together, we started packing my stuff, and I saw that piece of paper. And out of the 10 qualities, he had 8. And I was actually really happy with the 8 because God, he came in a package that also had other qualities that I never thought of, right? So I'll take it. I was really happy with it. However, if I had comparisonitis and I see quite a few people having this blockage, they would look at their list, or they would look at their mental list, right? Oh, I wanted a guy who's a professional, who drives, who makes such and such amount of money. This other guy, he's a construction worker, but he's really sweet. And he has the other qualities. He's just not a professional, and he's not making as much money as I want him to. That, honestly, I know you guys think I'm making it up, but I have seen people who drop potential partners because it doesn't fit their list of wants or needs. Okay? Especially when it comes to things, personally for me, that are a little bit superficial. But for some people, for some astrological frames, the superficial stuff is really important, And again, I'm not putting anyone down, okay? So don't come back firing me on this. It's just, love is not, for me anyway, love is not something that you compare apples to apples to. You can't compare your partner with your husband, your best friend's husband, for instance. It's just not something that you do, but people do it. Okay? So when you do that, then the comparisonitis is going to put you in a rough spot. Okay? Point number 5. Stuck in blame or victim mode. I have to say, I don't have a lot of patience with people who have this. And this is from me, and this is even when I was single. Because my analogy with relationship, and I know it doesn't work with everyone, but I remember telling my girlfriend this, who was stuck in victim mode, okay? Oh, woe is me. It's so hard for me to find someone. Men are so picky and things like that. I'm like, girl, look. Dating is like a deck of cards, okay? Just keep flipping the cards. This is literally word for word that I told her on the phone like years ago. I said, just, you're good. You're going to get the number, the 2s, the 3s, the jokers, right? Just keep flipping. Just go on dates until you find the ace or the king or the queen if you're a man, right? So it gets, I know it's not something that people can snap out of very, very easily. Some people, when they broke off a relationship, they grieve in it. If it's a long-term relationship, sure, right? But if it's someone that you've only known for 2-3 weeks and you grieve for like 3 months, that might take it a little extreme, right? And victimization and, stuck in blame could also be like, oh, that person didn't do this, that person, said this, or that person made me feel this, and things like that. And, astrologically, there are also some people who like to be stuck in victim mode. People who like to blame others for their situation. And normally these people use their woe is me situation to gain sympathy from other people, right? To get they're like, oh, poor dear, you got dumped again or whatever. They don't deserve you. And, so you get all the sympathy poured onto you. That's the kind of attention that you're seeking. Not for everyone, but for some people, right? They'll take whatever kind of attention they get, even if it's, pity, even if it's sympathy. And some people would even, and I've seen this, some people would even take this victim mentality or this being stuck in blame and using it to manipulate other people. Okay? Using guilt and sympathy to manipulate other people. You know, either you see other people doing this. I've definitely seen that, and the older I get, the less patience I have for people like that. But I'm just saying, if you do that, what are you doing vibrationally in terms of attracting your mate? You know, it's, even if you do attract a partner, it's not likely your highest and best partner. Okay? Because realize this, when I say attract a relationship or attract a partner, we're not talking about just anyone here. We're talking about someone who is your highest and best partner, someone who is at par with you intellectually, which is really important for me. Maybe someone who is at par with you spiritually, which is also really important for me. Physicality of it all is not so important for a person like me, but maybe it is for you. But again, think about the vibration. Think about the energy that you're putting out. If you're stuck in blame, if you're stuck in victim mode, it's going to be very hard for the right one to come into the picture. Okay? And also, just looking at my notes here, if you're stuck in victim mode, you're actually taking power away from yourself. Okay? And most of the time, if you are always in this space, head space and heart space, most of the time you're defeated even before you begin. Okay? And you definitely don't want that. We are at number 5, so number 6. Okay, number 6. Strong belief in blanket generalizations. And now, okay, I can, you know, I see some societies, maybe some Hollywoodized notions have also kind of perpetuated this, in that, oh, all women are impossible to deal with, or all men are jerks, or all men are just out there, or all they want is just one thing. They're only after one thing. Or, oh, all women want is my money, right? Things like that. Blanket generalizations, you have to be really, really careful of that, because it might just easily come out of your mouth. But if it's something that you deeply, deeply, deeply believe in, then it's going to put up a huge energetic blockage for you. Okay? A huge energetic barrier. Because again, what you put out there is going to determine what you ultimately attract. Okay? All men are cheaters. All men are whatever. Okay? So, again, this one is also setting yourself up for failure. And, you know, this is probably not too big of a problem for most people, but I've definitely seen it, especially when it's a conviction. Now, Tony Robbins talked about a belief versus a conviction, right? A belief is strong, but a conviction is even stronger. So if you're fully convinced that this blanket generalization is true, then you're only shooting yourself in the foot. Okay? Number 7. You are stuck in the past. And this is different from number 2 earlier, which is the worst case scenario for the future. This one, being stuck in the past, is you just keep thinking and keep replaying and you can even close your eyes and you can see the whole thing replay around you, or you can hear what was going on when, let's say, someone broke up with you. You replay over and over again. Or maybe you had a heated argument and there's one phrase that really hit you in the gut, in the soul, of course it affects you. But if after months and years, it's still affecting you, especially if you're no longer with this person that hurt you, then how are you going to allow space for another person to come into your life when your heart space and your mind space, especially when it comes to relationship, is just stuck in the past? And this, I know I made this number 7, but this is actually a very big barrier for a lot of people. Okay? Oh, I can't forget, or it could be a good thing, right? Maybe you met who you thought was the love of your life, but maybe some horrific tragedy happened and he or she's no longer here. And it's hard for you to move ahead because you thought that you were going to spend the rest of your life with this beautiful person. Right? Of course, if that is your situation, give yourself time to grieve. But if you are at a time and space where you feel, okay, I think I'm ready to start meeting people. If there are remnants, or spiritual healers would say cords, right? If there are still cords between you and that person in the past, or if there are still cords between you and the event or a memory in the past, then that is going to hold you back. Okay? If you guys have never seen the meme of, I think it was a butterfly, but the butterfly is tethered to a stone or something. The butterfly can't fly. It can't fly off because the stone is like weighing it down. This is what number 7 does. Okay? So, I have notes here as well. So other examples of being lost in the past is reliving old memories, old events, old shame, replaying memories. And I've done this before, like, what was I thinking? Like, but really it wasn't just, it wouldn't just be like a one-off comment. If it's something that you keep asking yourself, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I allow myself to put in that, to be put in that position? Again, you're not doing yourself any favors. Okay? So, those are my 7 things. And let me take a look at comments here. You guys are quiet today. Is it a good or a bad thing? There's hardly any comments here. What do you guys feel of the 7 blockages? Carolyn, I see your question, but it's not quite related to today's topic, so I'm going to take care of it offline. But what happens now, okay, if you guys are still trying to let the 7 points sink in, or maybe you're writing it down or whatever it is, it's a good thing, Alan. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I don't want to just do the 7 points and just leave you guys, to kind of figure it out on your own. There's a couple of things that you can do, okay? One is track yourself. And I am a big proponent of writing things down. I actually have, it's over at the other corner here. I actually have a little booklet where I track things. I track my income. I track my expenses. I also track my thoughts and my feelings. You can put it on your phone, but pen and paper is more powerful for me. So track it. Track it for 7 days. Especially when it comes to, if relationship is the biggest area that you want to fix, track your thoughts about relationship. Let's say you see your best friend and her boyfriend or husband. What are you thinking next? Track it. Even the positive ones. Track it. Okay? I would say do it for 7 days and then sit down with it and see which of the 7 points are the ones that you're ticking off the most. And with that list, either you share it with your trusted family or friend, or maybe you take the 7 points and you ask a friend or a family and say, hey, I think I'm ready for some self-healing right now. I think I'm ready for some, look at some of the skeletons in my closet. Can you help me see if can you let me know where in these 7 blockages that you see me fitting in, that you see me like exhibiting, okay, for the lack of a better word. Ellen, you're writing everything down and absorbing. Okay, perfect. Miriam says you have 3 of 7. 3 of 7 is not bad. Okay, 3 of 7 is definitely not bad. Okay, but the important thing is, the reason why I'm doing this is to help you acknowledge it. Again, it's just a 7 from my observation. There could be more, but these 7 I feel is what comes up quite frequently. Acknowledge it. Don't berate yourself for it. Don't guilt or shame yourself for having these blockages. In fact, I would suggest that you look at the 7 blockages and you look at maybe you're tracking it. Okay, or maybe you're very self-aware, okay, I definitely have this, I definitely do this, I definitely have an issue with this. That is a great step in healing, and I want you to pat yourself in the back, okay, for doing that. Because it takes a lot of bravery, it takes a lot of honesty to do that for yourself. And once you acknowledge it, then you know what you need to heal. And how do you heal it? You can heal it by having good emotional support around you. And on top of that, you can also try working with energy healers. There are amazing energy healers out there, either with Reiki, they can help you with, open up your heart chakras, with, EFT practitioners, or with, even crystal healers, or flower remedies healers, or essential oil healers that can help you energetically shift things around to first get unstuck, because a lot of these things are very self-conscious, by the way. Okay? So you need to it's like a toothbrush, right? You need to kind of slough off the gunk from your cells, from your cellular memory, and then you need to flush it out of your system. So energy healing is definitely one that I would highly, highly recommend. If this is something that's been traumatizing you for many, many years, you might even want to look at counseling. Okay? And going for counseling is not necessarily something to be ashamed of. What would be shameful if you allow yourself to stay in denial and not heal it, and then 20, 30, 40 years from now, you would tell yourself, oh my gosh, I wish I dealt with it back then, right? And I definitely don't want you to put yourself in that position. Now, hope this was helpful for you guys, okay? I see some of you guys say you're gonna watch the replay. That's definitely great. And again, side note, I know these 7 blockages are for money, but are for relationships, but you can do these 7 blockages. You can transfer it, for instance, for money as well. Okay? Because those are very similar things that could also be blocking money from coming into your life. Okay? One shameless plug, if you guys will allow me to do one shameless plug. So, for those of you guys who have not registered for Feng Shui 2019, bonus webinar number 2 is happening September 16th. So it's this coming Sunday. September 16th is coming Sunday, 10:30 p.m. is my bonus webinar number 2. It's only available for those who register for Feng Shui 2019. And some of you guys who wanted to register, you're like, oh, Safrina, it used to be 68, but it's 88 now. Yes, because I filled up the 300 early bird spots. So now it is $88 right now. In October, it will go up again. So if you guys who've joined me in the past annual Feng Shui events, you guys know how I roll, right? I like to incentivize those who register quickly. So it's no longer $68, it is $88, but you get a ton of resource. You get the Feng Shui resource, you will get some astrological resource, but you're also going to get the inner Feng Shui and energy healing resource as well, which I think will be, honestly, I don't think anyone else is offering it the way that I'm offering it right now. So how do you register if you're currently not in Feng Shui 2019? So fengshui2019.com and register, especially if you want to be able to join me live for Inner Feng Shui for Relationship. That is September 16th at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So for those of you guys in Australia, parts of Australia and in Asia, I think that's about 10:30 at night. For those of you guys in Europe, I think we're about 5-6 hours different. So it's, I think, 3 or 4 p.m. your time on Sunday. Ellen is saying, Safrina, this is a great topic. Thank you. I've been married for, 42 years. 42 years. That is amazing, Ellen. I bet there's a lot of patience and empathy that goes with it. Wow. Yes, you are in my manifesting code classes. Yes, amazing. I didn't even, think of talk about my manifesting code offering. But if you guys want to go above and beyond Feng Shui, check out manifesting code as well. And this is where I talk a lot about doing the other good work. The other inner Feng Shui stuff, which has to come hand in hand with your external Feng Shui placement, you guys. I strongly believe that this is how you can holistically change your life, by doing the inner work and the outer work. Okay? No other questions? Okay, thank you so much for joining me live today, you guys. And I'll see you guys next week. Take care. This is Safrina Kadri from Feng Shui and Prosper, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do try to put out a brand new video every week. So if you subscribe, then you can make sure that you don't miss out on any of the other content that will be coming out your way.